This program is for people who fill portable LPG cylinders. It explains the safety precautions necessary to deal with LPG's special properties and shows the correct method of filling cylinders safely. To handle LPG safely, it's important to understand how it behaves and why. LPG is a commercial mixture of propane and butane, two liquid hydrocarbons. So when talking about LPG's properties, we're referring to the average properties of commercial mixtures. Propane and butane will boil at surprisingly low temperatures. That is, they'll bubble vigorously and turn from liquid into vapor. At normal atmospheric pressure, butane boils at about 0 degrees Celsius and propane at about -42 degrees. This piece of fresh meat shows the dramatic cooling effect of liquid LPG. If it spills onto your skin or eyes, its intense cold will burn you more severely than boiling water. So treat it with respect. Inside a closed cylinder, liquid LPG will initially boil because the surrounding temperature is higher than its boiling point. As long as it keeps boiling, liquid is being turned into vapor, so the pressure in the closed cylinder keeps rising. Increasing pressure has an effect on the liquid's boiling point and causes it to rise, just like the water in a pressure cooker. Pressure keeps rising until the liquid's boiling point matches its surroundings. Boiling then ceases and the pressure stabilizes. Thus, a cylinder of LPG automatically generates enough pressure to keep itself in liquid form, adjusting its own pressure and boiling point to suit the temperature of the day. Liquid LPG expands when it gets warm. As the temperature rises, it occupies more of the space within the cylinder. This is why LPG cylinders must not be filled to more than 80% of their volume. The vapor space above the liquid level is called ullage space. It allows liquid to safely expand on a hot day or in a warm room. If there's not enough ullage space, the expanding liquid could completely fill it. Any further liquid expansion would then operate the safety valve and liquid would escape. To avoid this hazard, it's critically important that cylinders are never overfilled. LPG vapor will burn when mixed with air or oxygen. A flammable mixture will contain between 2% and 10% of LPG vapor. That's the mixture range created, for example, in an LPG burner, or perhaps accidentally near an LPG leak. To start combustion, all that's needed is a spark or some other source of ignition. When liquid LPG turns into vapor, it expands enormously. This 1 liter of liquid will generate about 250 liters of vapor. That's why liquid leaks must not be allowed. They can generate an enormous volume of flammable mixture. Joints must use approved LPG materials and be in good condition because liquid LPG has low viscosity and is hard to seal. Converting liquid to vapor requires heat energy, which is normally absorbed from the surroundings. For example, leaking liquid LPG absorbs heat from the air as it vaporizes and produces a cloud of condensed water vapor. For the same reason, dew, frost, or even ice can form on the outside of a cylinder when it's delivering gas. LPG vapor is heavier than air and tends to accumulate in low places. Leaking LPG can turn nearby drains and gullies into hazard areas. Vapor can flow down drains and accumulate some distance away. LPG is not poisonous, but if inhaled, will cause headache, nausea, and ultimately death by asphyxiation. Because LPG has no smell, it's deliberately stenched to make it noticeable. So there are 7 important properties of LPG that help us understand what precautions are needed to handle it safely. Let's review. LPG's low boiling point means liquid must be stored in pressurized cylinders. Spilled liquid can cause severe burns. Cylinder pressure automatically adjusts to suit the outside temperature. Liquid expands when it gets warm, so cylinders are only filled to 80% of capacity, leaving ullage for a safety expansion zone. LPG burns in air or oxygen. Flammable mixtures contain between 2 and 10% of LPG vapor. A small volume of liquid produces 250 times its own volume of vapor, so it's important that liquid does not escape. Heat energy is needed to turn liquid into vapor. The liquid absorbs this heat from its surroundings. LPG vapor is heavier than air. It can create a hazard in low places like drains and gullies. Although it's not poisonous, LPG vapor should not be inhaled. In high concentrations, it can kill by asphyxiation. The smell is put there deliberately. If someone is splashed with escaping liquid, act quickly. Shut off the liquid supply to prevent further danger. Then apply immediate first aid. In this training session, an experienced ambulance officer explains how it's done.
With a cold LPG burn, you need to act quickly and treat it straight away. You'll probably need professional help as well. So while you're giving first aid, get someone else to go and ring for a doctor or an ambulance. Tell them that you're dealing with a cold burn produced by liquid LPG. If the burn's covered, remove the saturated clothing if you can, but if it's stuck to the skin, you'll have to leave it there for the time being. You're going to need warm water to thaw the damaged area back to normal temperature as quickly as possible. It needs to be about 35 degrees Celsius. Use your elbow to check that it's not too hot. Now we can put the burn into the warm water, and we keep it there for about 10 minutes. Now while it's soaking, remove any tight clothing or rings, watches, etc. that might restrict the circulation. If you haven't got warm water, you can use cold. It's going to be warmer than the body tissue at this stage, but don't leave it there too long, as we don't want to cool the body temperature down too low. Next job is to cover the burn with a sterile dressing. If one's not available, a paper towel is not a bad substitute, but leave it loose. You mustn't bind it too tightly. Keep the patient as warm and comfortable as possible. You can give warm liquids to drink, but no alcohol and no smoking. As the burn thaws, it will produce pain, so painkillers may be needed. And this is another good reason why you should call professional help. If someone's had liquid splashed in their eyes, speed is vital. Rinse the burn with clean, fresh, cold water straight away. Keep it going for at least 15 minutes or until medical help arrives. You may have to gently open the eyelids. The important thing is to get clean water into the eye as quickly as possible. When an emergency happens, you haven't got time to start looking for any equipment or trying to figure out what to do. You must know. So have the equipment prepared and in a place where everybody knows where it is. Have regular practices so everybody knows what to do. In that way, if anything does go wrong, there's a good chance you'll be dealing with the situation safely and successfully.
Filling cylinders the correct way is extremely safe. But if something should go wrong, you need to know what to do. With a leaky cylinder, the idea is to close the valve if you can. If it's iced up, try to thaw it out with water. If you can't stop the leak, move the cylinder to safety. You need an open space, well away from buildings, people, drains, and sparks or flames. Keep it upright with the valve at the top so that gas leaks out, not liquid. If it contains more than 5 kilograms of liquid, you may need to call the fire brigade. If a leaky cylinder's on fire and you can't close the valve, have someone call the fire brigade. If the flame isn't touching the cylinder or endangering anything else, let it burn with the valve uppermost. Spray water on the cylinder to keep it cool. Keep people away. Have other cylinders and flammable materials moved out of the way and control till the brigade arrives. If the flame touches the cylinder or endangers anything else, put the fire out with a dry powder extinguisher. Cool the cylinder, then treat it as a leaky cylinder. If cylinders or equipment have been in a fire, get advice from the cylinder test station. If you've any doubt at all, don't fill. Suppose you accidentally overfill a cylinder. You must get rid of the excess liquid straight away. Remove it to a safe area and stand it upright with the valve on top. Release the excess liquid through the bleed valve. If there's no bleed valve, open the cylinder valve to release gas. When no further liquid escapes, close the bleed valve. Then leak test. And don't forget to check weigh the cylinder. The best way to deal with an emergency is to make sure you never have one. So be careful, be professional, use the right filling techniques. LPG is a marvellous fuel. It's very convenient, and it's got a great safety record. So let's do the job professionally, and we'll keep it that way. All cylinders must have their full contents checked by weight. To do this, you need two more items of information. First, the cylinder's water capacity, or WC, is used to calculate how much LPG it can safely hold. Water capacity is the total volume of water that would fill the cylinder. Water is a convenient measure, since 1 litre of water weighs 1 kilogram. We can use this to calculate the kilograms of LPG that would fill the cylinder to 80% of its volume. The multiplying factor is 0.444. Next, you need the cylinder's empty weight, abbreviated to EW. This is the allowance made for the weight of the cylinder and its valve. If that's not shown, use the tare weight, or TW. It must be in kilograms. Weights not shown in kilograms must be converted. This section describes the correct procedures for filling portable cylinders. That is, cylinders not permanently fixed to a motor vehicle. Follow the procedures carefully for your own protection. In many cases, they are legal requirements. By law, you can only fill LPG cylinders in an approved place. It has to be properly constructed and equipped to comply with the dangerous goods regulations. For example, it must be well ventilated and located clear from other buildings or hazards, so that any spillage of liquid or vapor can dissipate safely. Special flame-proof electrical fittings are required, including motors, lights and switches. It must have approved types of gas fittings, valves, filling leads, adapters and safety devices. Approved types of scales are required for weighing cylinders. Your safety depends on their accuracy and reliability. Of course, it's not enough to build a safe facility. It must remain safe and be kept up to standard for everyone's protection. So report any damage you notice to electrical fittings, valves or safety devices. Look after the scales. They're an accurate measuring instrument. Treat them that way. Don't allow hazards into the area, like accumulated rubbish or storage of other materials. Make sure the dry powder extinguisher's always on hand and that it's regularly checked and serviced. And watch out for that ever-present hazard, the customer who wants a smoke. Excuse me, sir. This is a no smoking zone. Remember, no smoking or naked lights within 8 meters. No exceptions. How far is 8 meters? No need to guess if it's already marked out as a no smoking zone. Before filling any cylinder, check its credentials. You'll find the information you need stamped on the bottom flange, or the valve guard at the top. Some information may be on a separate metal ring under the valve. Look for the LAB number. If the cylinder hasn't got one, it may not be approved. Check it out on your master list of approved LPG cylinders. If it's not approved, it's illegal to fill it. As a double check, look for the test pressure. It must be at least 3.3 megapascals or 480 psig. The cylinder must have been tested within the last 10 years. Check this by finding the manufacturing date or the last test date. It's indicated by month and year. This code, for example, signifies November 1989. If the 10 years is almost up, it's a good idea to warn your customer that the cylinder will soon need testing. Now do a visual warrant of fitness check on the cylinder. Make sure it's in good condition and safe to fill. There are some special things to look for. Rusting of the shell, particularly underneath. Cylinders used in boats often have this problem. Paintwork should be in reasonable condition so that bare metal's not exposed. Look for physical damage, such as dents or gouges. Evidence of fire damage. Damage to valves or safety devices. There must be a safety device to release excessive pressure. Either a spring-loaded one which reseats automatically after relieving pressure, or a fusible plug made from low melting point alloy, which will release the entire cylinder contents if the temperature becomes dangerously high. One of these devices must be present. Otherwise, don't fill the cylinder. Remember, if there's fire damage, valve or safety device damage, dents or gouges, rust or severely damaged paintwork, if you find any of these faults, don't fill the cylinder. At very least, it must go to a testing station for examination. Labeling is important. By law, every cylinder must display this diamond-shaped hazard notice and this warning notice. If either is damaged or missing, replace it. Your filling station identity and date of filling must be on the cylinder, either on this warning notice or on a separate company sticker. Many cylinders have bleed valves to indicate approximately when the cylinder's full. The bleed valve's connected to a tube inside the cylinder, and when you open it, gas escapes through a small hole. If the cylinder happens to be full, liquid will flow up the tube instead of gas, and you'll see it discharging. But the bleed valve is not an accurate measure of cylinder contents, especially during rapid filling. The incoming rush of liquid can depress the surface and allow gas to discharge even after the cylinder's full. Some bleed valves open with a screwdriver. Some have a special key, and others a small thumb wheel. Many small cylinders have a combined bleed valve and fusible plug safety device. Once you've checked the cylinder's approved, currently tested, and in good condition, you can fill it. The first step in filling any cylinder is your own self-protection. At the very least, wear gloves to protect your hands. Loose-fitting leather is recommended. And goggles to protect your eyes from accidental liquid spills. And keep that dry powder extinguisher handy. If you ever need it, it has to be right there. The size of a cylinder determines how it's filled. Cylinders range from more than 45 kilograms capacity down to well under half a kilogram. For cylinders like these, up to 5 litres water capacity, that's about 2.5 kilograms of LPG. The only approved filling method is decanting. Liquid simply flows from the supply tank under gravity and pressure differences. Pumped filling is not permitted. It's too fast, and there's a danger of overfilling small cylinders. Here's the right way to do the job. Once you've checked the cylinder, note its empty weight and water capacity, and place it upright, ready for filling. Now calculate the final filled weight. You'll need this figure to check weigh the cylinder once it's full. Just add the cylinder's empty weight and the permissible weight of its LPG contents. Always do this calculation before you start filling. On this cylinder there's no empty weight shown. Use the tare weight of 3.15 kilograms. The cylinder's water capacity is 4.8 litres. Multiply by 0.444, giving a permissible LPG content of 2.13 kilograms. Add this to the empty weight, giving a full target weight of 5.28 kilograms. Make sure the cylinder valve's clean and attach the filling adapter. It should fit easily. Tighten securely. Normally you would now open the cylinder valve, but this type of cylinder has an internal valve which opens automatically when you fit the adapter. Now open the bleed valve. You can hear the gas hissing out. Then open the fill valve and start filling the cylinder. Do a soap test on the filling connection. If you find a leak, stop filling and check for the cause. The cylinder may need to be repaired. Stay there during filling. The job cannot be left unattended. When liquid spurts from the bleed valve, the cylinder's full. Shut the fill valve immediately. Also close the cylinder valve if there is one. Leave the bleed valve open until no more liquid escapes. Then you can close it. Before you can weigh the full cylinder, you need to disconnect the fill line and the adapter. The full weight of the cylinder must be no more than the target weight you previously calculated. Finally, soap test the cylinder valve outlet and the bleed valve to check for leaks. Complete any of your firm's normal customer service operations, such as wiping the cylinder and attaching your company's identification sticker. It's good for your business that the customer sees you acting in a professional manner, giving efficient, competent and safe service. And don't forget to put the filling date on the cylinder. Decanting can also be carried out from large cylinders instead of a bulk supply. A simple filling arm can be used to fill small cylinders. The black stripe on the supply cylinder indicates that it has an internal tube for withdrawing liquid. The procedure's identical to the one we've just seen. Always do your calculations before you start filling. The cylinder's connected to the filling arm and hangs there during filling. Open the cylinder valve and bleed valve. After soap testing, squeeze the fill handle and hold it open while the cylinder's filling. As soon as you see liquid, release the fill handle. But wait till the liquid stops before you close the bleed valve. Leak test the filled cylinder. Then check its filled weight, which must be no more than the calculated weight. Pumped filling from a liquid supply is reserved for large cylinders with more than 5 litres water capacity. It's quicker than decanting, and the procedures are slightly different. Large cylinders will usually have either a POL type valve as seen here, or one of 2 secondary valve systems, the Acme or the clip-on type. The cylinder must be filled on the scales, because its weight is monitored during filling. Because of this, you need to allow for the weight of the hose and adapter. In this case, that's an extra 1.5 kilograms. Before filling, calculate the target full weight. This cylinder's empty weight is 9.34 kilograms. Water capacity is 22 litres, giving a calculated LPG capacity of 9.76 kilograms. The sum of these three figures, 20.6 kilograms, is the target weight at which filling must cease. Open the cylinder valve, then the system fill valve. But if there's a bleed valve, leave it closed. It doesn't need to be opened during pumped filling, and there's no point in unnecessarily discharging flammable gas. Soap test for leaks under system pressure. Start the pump, if it isn't an automatic start system, and stay there. Don't leave the cylinder unattended. Watch the scales carefully. When they reach target weight, close the system fill valve and stop the pump. You may now open the bleed valve if your company requires this further check. Close the cylinder valve. If the bleed valve discharges liquid for more than a few seconds, close it and follow the overfill procedure. Normally, you'll just close it when liquid stops. Disconnect the filling line and adapter and check the weight again now there's nothing attached to the cylinder. Remember, it's empty weight plus 0.444 times water capacity. Soap test the cylinder outlet and the bleed valve. If the outlet is an Acme type valve or a clip-on adapter, open the cylinder valve before soap testing to check the self-sealing valve. Close the cylinder valve afterwards. Finally, complete your customer service procedures. When using the Actronic automatic cylinder filling system, procedures are slightly different. Check the condition of the cylinder and its test data in the normal way. With nothing on the scales, there should be 0 showing on the bottom display, and the 0 light should be on. If not, check nothing's touching the scales. Press the 0 key and wait. The 0 light must come on before you proceed any further. Now the cylinder can go on the platform, but don't attach the hose yet. Press the empty weight key and use the keyboard to enter the cylinder's empty weight data. This must be in kilograms. Now enter the water capacity in the same way, using the water capacity key. This must also be in kilograms. When you take the next step and press confirm weight, the cylinder is automatically weighed. The system works out how much gas can be safely added to fill it and briefly displays this information. You'll hear a beep when that's been done. Don't touch the cylinder or the platform during weighing. Notice the bottom display shows the current weight of the cylinder. Now you can attach the fill valve and hose. Open the cylinder valve, but leave the fill valve closed. Make sure the hose isn't touching the cabinet. Press Start Fill and listen for the solenoid valve to click open. Remember to do the soap test. Then you can open the fill valve, and the system does the rest. It will pump liquid into the cylinder, indicating on the bottom display how much it's added. It's important not to disturb the platform during filling, or you could upset the automatic weighing operation. If this does accidentally happen, the halt light may start flashing, indicating that an error has been detected and filling has been temporarily stopped. You can resume filling by pressing the Start Fill key as long as you haven't taken the cylinder off the platform. When the cylinder's almost full, the pump stops automatically and liquid flows in more slowly by decanting. Fill complete means the operation's finished. System supply has been shut off and an accurate weight reading has been sent to the computer. Close the fill valve, then the cylinder valve, and remove the hose assembly. Before you remove the cylinder, check its full weight by pressing the maximum full weight key. The actual weight now shown on the bottom display should be no more than the maximum allowable weight shown in the center. If the bottom display shows the cylinder is more than 0.2 of a kilogram overweight, treat the cylinder as being overfilled and report there's a fault with the system. Normally, though, you'll proceed to the next step. Depending on your company's policy, this may require briefly opening the bleed valve as a further check that the cylinder is not overfilled. Finally, do the soap leakage test and label the cylinder. Large cylinders will usually have either a POL type valve as seen here, or one of two secondary valve systems, the Acme or the clip-on type. When filling small cylinders, the procedure is very similar to what we've just seen, but there are one or two important differences. Small cylinders are filled by decanting, and the system won't automatically shut off supply when the cylinder is full. All cylinders are treated the same way until you've entered the water capacity. If that figure is less than 5 kilograms, the system knows you're filling a small cylinder and it won't allow the liquid pump to operate. And when you press Confirm Weight, you'll see the word Fee in the middle display. This tells you that filling will have to be done manually, and the customer will be charged a set fee, regardless of the amount of liquid added. The top display shows the price to be paid. Attach the hose and fill valve. Open the cylinder valve. Press Start Fill, wait for the solenoid valve to click open, and open the fill valve in the normal way. However, because the pump's not operating, you also need to open the bleed valve. This vents gas and allows liquid to flow more freely into the cylinder. During filling, if the main liquid pump is started from another control point, a safety interlock will shut off your liquid supply and you'll see the halt light come on. It'll stay on till the pump shuts down, then begin flashing. You can now resume filling by pressing the Start Fill key. Normally though, there's no interruption, and filling continues until the cylinder's full, when you'll see liquid begin squirting from the bleed valve. Close the fill valve immediately. Then the bleed valve and the cylinder valve. Finally, remove the fill valve and hose. You still need to check the full weight as a further safety precaution using the maximum full weight key. If there's a difference between the bottom display and the maximum allowable weight above it, check for a possible overfill. After doing the soap leakage test and labelling, don't forget to press Stop. This shuts off the liquid supply and sends the price to the forecourt computer.